Chapter 4. The First Step. The next morning, Decima felt a strange tightness in the air. It wasn't just the quiet hum of spring settling into the streets of Porthcary, or the sea breeze drifting faintly inland. It was something beneath it, something watchful, something waiting. She moved through the morning like she was out of step with the rest of the world. Even her coffee felt too hot, her thoughts too loud, her skin too aware of every passing sound. She kept glancing at the window as if expecting to see him. She didn't, but still she felt it, the sense that Daniel was near. Somewhere. She left the house late that morning, trying to shake the weight in her chest. She told herself she was just popping to the shop. Just milk, maybe some bread. She didn't need anything else. But her feet moved too deliberately, and she walked a little slower than usual, as if she were waiting for something to catch up with her. She didn't see him at first. She had just left the shop, head bowed slightly against the breeze, plastic bag swinging loosely in her hand. Then he appeared. From the opposite direction, coming down the hill, Daniel stepped out of the cafe. No coat, white t-shirt, loose joggers like he hadn't meant to be seen. He had a takeaway cup in one hand and a folded receipt in the other. But the moment he spotted her, he paused. They both did. Just for a second, like the space between them had thickened. And then they walked. Not away, not around, into each other. Not forcefully, but gently. Like it had been planned. Like the street had bent itself just to let this happen. Their shoulders brushed. Her hand grazed his arm. He turned slightly, and so did she. And for a moment, their hands touched. Not held, just brushed. But it was enough. Enough to freeze time. Their eyes met and didn't look away. No smile, no small talk. Just breath caught between them, and something else. The unspoken. The knowing. The draw. Decima's heart thundered in her chest. She felt heat rise beneath her skin, not embarrassment, but recognition. As if her blood remembered something her mind hadn't learned yet. Daniel didn't speak. Neither did she. But the way he looked at her, it was as if he was asking something, and she was answering without words. After a long moment, they parted. No nod, no turning back, just steps in opposite directions. But the space between them had changed, and she knew it. She knelt at the center of the clearing, fingertips grazing the moss. It was warm. Not from sunlight. The canopy above blocked most of that. This warmth came from below, like the earth itself had a memory, and it remembered her. The moss hadn't grown over where the archway had once stood. The shape was still there, a faint oval of bare ground surrounded by deep green. A print, a scar, a doorway that had once opened and might again. Her pendant pulsed against her chest. She pressed her hand to it through her shirt, breath slowing. It had done this before. After the dream, after Daniel. Now again, something inside her ached. Not with pain, but with pressure. Like a forgotten door inside her was creaking open. The forest didn't speak, but it responded. Leaves rustled high above. A low wind twisted through the branches, curling down into the clearing, circling her like breath. Then teed stillness, and something new. A sound. Not loud, not musical, but a low, almost imperceptible humming. Not from the trees, not from the wind, from the ground. She leaned closer. The moss itself was vibrating, so gently it could have been imagined, but it wasn't. She could see the tiny threads of green shivering, like they recognized her, like they were trying to speak. She reached out slowly, hand hovering above it. Warm, not hot, but undeniably warm. As if the earth itself held the memory of something living, something watching. She didn't touch it. Not yet. The last time she had, her world had changed. This time she waited and listened. No voice came. No whisper. But her own heartbeat was louder than before. And her pendant? It had grown warm again. She stayed kneeling for a long time. The spiral in the moss seemed to pulse with its own rhythm. Slow, steady, almost like breathing. It wasn't glowing exactly. But there was something about the way the light fell there, a soft shimmer, subtle, like a secret that didn't want to be found but had decided to let her see it anyway. It was familiar in a way she couldn't explain, like a shape from a forgotten dream, or something she'd seen in the corner of her eye, 100 times before but never really noticed. She moved to sit beside it, not touching, just watching. And the longer she stared, the more she felt the forest breathing around her. The trees creaked softly. A wind stirred the leaves overhead. A bird called once, sharp and distant. Then quiet again. The silence wasn't empty. It was full, and it was responding to her. She could feel it now. Not just the mark on the ground, but something shifting in the air itself. Something subtle. As if the woods were changing shape around her without moving at all. A leaf drifted down through the light, spinning slowly as it fell. It landed in front of her, perfectly still. Decima reached for it without thinking. The moment her fingertips brushed the leaf's surface, the spiral in the moss flickered. Not light, not color, just vibration. A shimmer in the back of her skull. She gasped, hand flying back. The leaf was ordinary, but the mark no longer was. It had felt her. And something deep in the forest felt her too. Decima stood slowly, brushing her hands off on the sides of her coat. Though they weren't dirty. Her skin tingled, not like pins and needles, but like her body had briefly been tuned to something else, some deeper frequency she couldn't quite access anymore, though it lingered at the edges of her awareness. She took a few careful steps backward, her eyes still on the spiral. There was no doubt now. This wasn't something she had found. This was something that had found her. She felt it like a thread, pulling tight in her chest, the same pull that had led her to the archway, the same pull that had drawn her back here, and the same pull that lived in her when she thought of him, Daniel. His name stirred something just beneath her ribs, a quiet ache, a flicker of heat. She thought again of his eyes, the way they had held hers across the road, unblinking. That wasn't chance. That wasn't coincidence. He knew something, even if he didn't understand it yet. And she didn't have the language for what was changing inside her, only the sensation, the subtle stretching of something beneath her skin, the way her senses had sharpened without her consent. She could hear the crows flying overhead before she saw them. She could feel the shift in air pressure when they circled, and as she stood beneath the branches, she noticed, or for the first time, that her shadow no longer quite matched her shape. It was longer, thinner, like it had grown wings. She didn't run, even when her pulse surged in the edges of her. Vision narrowed slightly with the weight of what she'd just seen. She didn't run. Running would have meant fear, and somehow that didn't feel right. Whatever was happening, it wasn't chasing her. It was claiming her. She turned slowly from the clearing, the spiral still pulsing gently behind her like a heartbeat left in the ground. The forest didn't resist her retreat. It let her go, but it watched her leave. She could feel it in the bend of the branches, in the shifting shadows, in the strange hush that followed her steps. The path that led back toward her garden had changed again, subtly. A new route crossing where it hadn't before, ivy blooming in thick clusters along a tree that had once been bare. It was like the forest was reshaping itself to remember her, to hold her. She emerged from the trees just as the light began to fade. Dusk melted across the sky in streaks of violet and bruised gold. The town was quiet, still, unaware. Her house stood unchanged, the same as it had that morning. But she didn't step inside right away. She paused at the garden gate, turning her face to the woods once more. Behind her something shifted. Not loudly, just enough for her to feel it, like the brushing of a thought at the base of her skull. A whisper she almost understood. She glanced down at her arm. A line of faint gold traced the vein beneath her skin, flickering once, then fading. Gone, but not forgotten. Not anymore.